Welcome to Chamber Talk. My name is Andrew Gregson, brought to you by North Orange County Chamber of Commerce. Today we have Carlos Franco, who is running for District 2 for the City of Buena Park City Council. Welcome, Carlos.
Thank you, Andrew.
It's been a few years since we not have seen each other, because we see each other a lot, but since you're on our podcast. So viewers, if you want to learn more about Carlos today, because we don't want to sort of like repeat what we did before, please feel free to go to chambertalk.podbean.com and look up episode 7. It was in our infancy of when we were doing started the podcast 2 years ago. And as I say, Carlos was episode 7. So what do you think? This is a bit of different than the last time, isn't it?
This podcast has definitely evolved in so many ways. I love it.
Yeah, we've grown a little bit, haven't we? We've got better. I'm not as scared anymore, and I don't know about our folks who come on. So we want to run straight into this today, as you know, for those of you who are listening who aren't quite sure, Carlos was running a couple of years ago and the seat had been filled. However, the council member who had taken that position has since resigned their position due to ill health. And that's why it's open for re-election again. That's right, isn't it?
That's correct, Andrew.
We're going to jump straight into what you'd mentioned a couple of years ago, that your 3 key areas were there was education resources, cleaner, safer streets, and economic growth. Is that still something you're discussing, or is that are those main key areas still?
Absolutely, Andrew. Those 3 main key areas will always be a reason I'm active in the community. They have evolved, however. And for example, the educational portion has evolved into what I like to call interagency collaboration. Providing education, providing resources for our community to succeed has turned into knowing the left hand, knowing what the right hand is doing. Mm-hmm. Essentially, the 5 pillars in a community involve City Hall, local businesses, local schools and organizations, and of course the residents. With that being said, everyone's just siloed and they don't speak to one another all the time. And beautiful things happen when they do. So having settings like this where people can listen and have guests where you can educate the public on the things that are going on are very valuable. So I'd like to focus on the right hand knowing what the left hand is doing in a community. Clean and safe streets, there's no alternative for that. Until that happens in the city of District 2, in the area, in the 2nd district of the city of Buena Park, there's no alternative to that. The 2nd district of Buena Park is the most impacted, and even our police department call it Beat 1. That's the patrol area, and it's the most impacted with crime. It's the most apartment dwelling, and according to a recent sustainability report, it's the most heat impacted. So with that being said, is that there's lack of trees. There's lack of trees. There's more heat. There's more cars. There's more traffic, and there's more frustration, which leads to crime, which leads to vandalism, which leads to an unattended area. We need to eliminate that. Clean and safe streets is my number 1 goal. And with that comes addressing homelessness and a few other of the issues that we have domestically. I am a local business owner here in the city of Buena Park, right here in District 2. I'm an advertiser. So fortifying the local economy is always going to be a prominent goal of mine. The median income here in the city of Buena Park is $40,000, which quite frankly is relatively low compared to other cities and the rest of Orange County. There are a lot of challenges here in the district, but it provides a great opportunity for us to make a positive impact as well.
Now, one thing that we mentioned just before we started, you were talking about District 2 and how actually our chamber headquarters are in District 2. But for those who aren't quite sure, do you mind sharing what the boundaries are so everybody knows where District 2 lies within Buena Park?
Absolutely. Buena Park District 2 is interesting. It is where the 5 and the 91 meet. It is essentially north of the 91 freeway, which kind of coincides with Orange Thorpe if you're at the street level.
Sure.
And it goes as far north as Franklin, which is close to that Amway Neutralite factory that we have in town.
Right.
It goes as east as Dale Street, or a little past Indiana, near the Fullerton Airport.
Okay.
And it goes as west as mostly Western Avenue with a peak that extends to Knott. This is the heart of Buena Park. It's where City Hall is located. It is where the North Orange County Chamber of Commerce is headquartered. And it's also where Buena Park's only high school is located. It's where the Source Mall is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of powerful things in Buena Park, and sometimes in the past, it has felt like it's the forgotten district.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I think some people might not quite know where all the districts lie. So I appreciate you mentioning that. So you touched on a note there that we talked to a lot of the politicians that come on our podcast. They often talk about affordable housing, as we know. It's like a special word these days. But as you and I both know, and we've talked to each other about, is affordable is not quite that affordable that you were talking about, where the majority of income is $40,000 a year. What do you think we can do to impact or help with housing, whether it's rental or whether it's to purchase, to help, let's say, the average folk who aren't earning $150,000 a year?
Gosh, that's really interesting. This is a very complex question, and we're going to try to take it one small bite at a time, Andrew. Good. With that being said, first of all, home ownership isn't for everybody. As we see this as a single family residence in the suburbs with a backyard and a white picket fence, that doesn't necessarily mean it's for everyone. You'll see calluses on my hands sometimes, and it's not because I've been visiting the gym. It's because I have to cut my own grass and fix my own plumbing at home. Things in a house break.
Yeah.
And I don't always know how to do it, so I'm on a YouTube channel trying to figure things out, right? That's exactly what people perhaps don't always perceive when they think, oh, we want more affordable housing in general.
Yeah, the cost of house ownership.
But we do have options. Now, the city of Buena Park is completely built out, and the opportunity for open space and build new housing as we conventionally see it is more of a dream than anything. But we can get creative.
Yeah. We
can get creative by building housing. And sometimes that might just actually be what's beneficial to the community here. Maybe somewhat of an... I'm not advocating for it necessarily, but maybe HOAs or apartments, townhomes, more opportunities to have a condensed living quarters, yet feel very ample while giving the homeowner that feeling of ownership. And maybe they don't have to cut their own grass. And maybe they don't have to worry about a lot of the things, right? So there are great opportunities here, and that's gonna require creative zoning as well. When a city's all built out and you don't have open space, you're going to need creative zoning. That means that perhaps it offers more opportunities for multi-use property usage, right? Maybe a business at the bottom with the living quarters at the top. That's an opportunity. Perhaps it also means that we need to talk to our neighboring cities. And while the state has mandates for housing, every city is going to have to build X amount of housing, and Buena Park, I believe, is on par with doing so with the state of California. What about open space? Now, we've been very fortunate to be able to collaborate. Again, that interagency collaboration is necessary, and I'd like to point to that. We've been very fortunate to collaborate with multiple entities in the creation of a new park in the city of Buena Park. This is Whitaker Park that I'm talking about. Now, the Community Development Block Grant Committee, which is what I'm a part of here in the city of Buena Park, was able to negotiate with the school district land usage of their existing grass area, and combine that with the city's resources to provide a new park for the community to visit. This is bordering across the street the city of Fullerton. Now, we've been very creative because now we've allocated a space that was underutilized and maximized and optimized on that space, which during school hours is for the children. But after school hours and on weekends, anyone in the community is able to enjoy a state-of-the-art park.
It is an amazing park.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
So when it comes to housing, I'm all pro development. I'm all pro rezoning to maximize and optimize on that. But it's going to require some collaboration with neighboring cities. And how that's going to happen is that maybe we can't share the number of houses that are built between city borders.
Sure.
But we can share open space.
Yeah. And
maybe we have to rearrange these blocks where we utilize that. But that's absolutely true. We're going to need to build more housing. That cannot be contested. And by increasing the housing, supply and demand says that the cost of housing is going to have to go down. And that is one solution to it. Now, how we go about that and having the buy-in of the community is another question.
Well, we're not going to fix that today, are we?
No, we can't. But I hope that we can start by having these slight cultural shifts to reimagine what a quality of life is and to really ask ourselves as residents who live somewhere, is this really where and how I should be living? I mean, for example, most of us have a vehicle. Mm-hmm. And it's completely our choice what kind of vehicle we have. It could be a bicycle, it could be a hot rod, it could be a minivan, etc. Right? We have to figure out what is it as far as a vehicle that's going to meet our needs, because every single one of those vehicles we mentioned is going to get us from point A to point B, hopefully. And now we just have to figure out how this looks and the features it has. Same with housing. We have to figure this out. If we create more walkable communities, then it's going to allow for more housing to be built where we currently perhaps have roads. You know, that's an option. There's streets out here that are underutilized, perhaps seldomly used even. So there's some opportunities out there for us to really get creative, consider rezoning, consider building housing, and having the residents of our community not just live somewhere, but live somewhere intentionally. Like they would when they pick a vehicle, like they do when they shop for clothing, like they do whenever we decide to attract more businesses and it justifies the housing that we're building next to it.
I'd say that was a very good answer on the spot. Well done. So I don't want to miss the fact that obviously, you know, you are one of the candidates running and we are interviewing different candidates. So well, I want to keep bringing it back towards the more, to be fair on you, towards being, you know, your campaign. But one thing you mentioned there, that you're on one of the committees, and I do know because we do run into each other a lot because we're even on committees together on certain things. You do a lot of community outreach. I know last time we met, and we only had on the podcast the other day Pete Bowen from Giving Children Hope. So I think it's only fair to give you some airtime here to share about some of the things you do within the community, because you are very Mr. Buena Park. So you want to share some of that?
Gosh, I love Buena Park. I mean, this is the community that helped raise me. And, you know, without diving deep into my psyche, this is something that I'm very grateful for. So with these programs that Buena Park has, these organizations that Buena Park has are very special. They're very special to me. And if I have certain skills that can help along the way, then I'm going to do my best to utilize those skills to help these organizations. Some of those organizations, like you mentioned, are Giving Children Hope, where I serve as a board member.
Yeah.
Now, actually, right after this podcast, we're all going to go to Rock and Brews to have an event with Giving Children Hope, and everyone's invited, and except our listeners who probably are hearing this after the event is already over. But with that said, it's a powerful organization that is continuously growing. I like to lead the Next Generation Committee within that organization, where we target young adults that are not so young like myself. I'm in my 30s, right? So with that being said, we're at a stage where maybe we have a little bit of disposable income and we're able to do a little bit more and we're civically minded, right? We have a great Next Generation Committee group within the organization of Giving Children Hope. And most recently, we've restarted the Interact Club at Buena Park High School. Now, as you know, Andrew, you're a fellow Rotarian. Interact is the high school version of Rotary.
Rotary, right?
Now, this is an organization, Rotary, that I have been with since I was in high school, because I too was an interactor when I was in high school. And that's what gave me my head start getting involved in the community. I had a great mentor. I had great mentors in plural.
Somebody Salts, right?
Mr. Dennis Salts, who was
I thought I remembered.
Former Centralia School board member, former library board member, great guy. He's passed now, survived by his wife and children. And he's a great guy. He was a great guy. But I started to Interact. Now we've restarted that club at Buena Park High School. And we have currently 40 to 60 students that are heavily charged to be involved in the community.
Wow.
Now there's an opportunity for Giving Children Hope to continue giving children hope by getting these kids involved in other organizations and within that organization. But these kids are ready to go. They see that there's a need for this. And we're fortunate enough to have it. The on-campus advisor is Miss Paulina Cortez, who is one of the agriculture teachers at Buena Park High School, and she seems to be one of the cool teachers on campus because as soon as they found out she was on-campus advisor, a lot of these kids decided to join for that reason alone. So very proud of that. We have Rotary. We have Giving Children Hope. I just finished putting together the website for the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast Committee, which you and I both serve on, Andrew. Mm-hmm. And that's an amazing event. If I had to say that there's a handful of events that Buena Park you just have to attend, it's the Police Association Luncheon, the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, and the State of the City.
Mm-hmm.
That's
which
what
is
I would
actually
say.
on October the 2nd.
October, it's coming up.
Yeah, it is.
And these are events you do not want to miss in the city of Buena Park. And I feel proud that the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast Committee, which by the way has no direct association with the city of Buena Park, but instead is a local nonprofit, puts this together, and a group of people just put so much work into it, from choosing the flowers to laying out the placemats and
building websites,
building the websites, and just the speakers that they get, and the talents, because they have singers and musicians that come out to play, and it's all centered around a really great cause of fellowship and camaraderie and love, and in that particular case, a religious inclination to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I can't go on talking about organizations without mentioning the Buena Park Noon Lions. And as a Lion, you're in for it if you're part of the Buena Park Noon Lions. This is an organization that was home to our current council member, Art Brown, former council member and mayors, of course, like Fred Smith in the past and Don McKay. I mean, this is an organization that puts together every single year Silverado Days, which is the fair to go to if you live in Buena Park. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Apart from commissions and committees that we may serve on an official level with the city of Buena Park, there is a plethora of great organizations that come out every single time. And one last organization that I want to bring up, which is coming up. So I formed part of the Buena Park Sister City Foundation, which I helped found maybe 10 years ago in 2013, actually. And this has been quite a bumpy ride, but definitely one you want to buckle in and get on, right? Every single year, we go to South Korea and visit our sister city, Sungbo-ku, a district in the city of Seoul. Now, Korea also visits us. And actually, on the 21st of this month, we're getting a 12-student delegation coming in, visiting the USA for the first time. This is exciting. And on that same day, Andrew, without any specific coordinating, it just so happened to work out this way. On that same day, the 21st of this month, we also have a culture fest happening right across the street at City Hall from this headquarters. Yep. So the kids are going to be in for a ride. We've already scheduled tours for them at the Nixon Library. We're searching for more host families currently to make sure that every kid has an opportunity to see what an American household is like and to live there for a week. So very powerful opportunity. We're looking to expand into Latin America, hopefully in the next year or so, and possibly going to be Mexico because it seems to be reflective of the population in Buena Park. One. Number two, it's a huge country and it's our closest neighbor. Besides Canada. Now
you mentioned a little bit briefly that obviously, you're on some committees and things like that. Let's say when elected, right? So when elected, what happens? Can you still stay on some of the city committees if you're a council member, or is that sort of like a conflict of interest there? What happens with things like that?
Well, when we say city committees, we're probably talking about official committees and commissions for the city of Buena Park, and that's a no. If I do get elected, or when I get elected, I would have to let go of being a part of those commissions and committees for the city of Buena Park. But I'm pretty sure, and I would have to ask, but I'm pretty sure I could stay on active with these non-city related nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, of course. Right.
And that's something that I'm going to be proud of as well.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that, that was clear. Plus I wanted to throw out there that, you do a lot for the city. So that's hence probably why you're wanting to run. So on that point, what steers you, or what gives you the energy to, or the drive to want to be on the city council?
Andrew, you do not need to be on city council to make a positive impact in your community. And I have said that multiple times, but I have realized it the most after losing an election last time. They say hard times build strong people, but Honestly, I feel like hard times or defeats like the one I encountered last in an election only revealed me to myself. And I did what was natural of me. And what was natural was not to lose an election and hide. What was natural for me was to lose an election and keep going. And with confidence, I say that you don't need to be on city council to have a positive impact in your community. But to answer your question, that commitment, that drive comes just from the love of our community. You know, you don't get a title like Mr. Buena Park for nothing. You know,
I don't know if you really do officially have that. I was just saying that.
No, actually, it is an official title. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. So, when I was in high school, and when I was a senior in high school in 2007, a lot of high schools were doing this at the time, and they were saying, they had a contest. I don't want to call it a pageant, but they had a contest.
Okay.
And the coolest people on campus were fighting for this title. In Buena Park's case, it was Mr. Buena Park. In Sunny Hill's case, was Mr. Sunny Hills High School, or Mr. Lancer, or Mr. Coyote in Buena Park, respectively. I was not the coolest kid in high school. There were plenty of other people that were better looking, more athletic, smarter, very talented people. But for some reason, I was clever enough to bypass their skill sets and talents, and I ended up getting the title of Mr. Buena Park / Mr. Coyote in 2007. That kind of stuck around, and it was just synchronous with the community involvement that I already had.
Right.
So it's something that's amazing, and it comes from the heart. It comes from it really does come from the heart. This community helped raise me. I'm proud to be Buena Park. I'm not even a party guy, politically speaking. I'm not much of I can't say I'm not a politician, because I am, obviously, but I'm not a party guy right now. I'm just a Buena Park guy.
Sure.
And that's how I grew up, and that's what I intend to execute, hopefully in the best possible way. And if I don't do it, then who will?
Yeah.
There's thousands of people in the city, and very few of them get up and say, I want to do something positive for this community. And out of those people, a few of them actually run for office. And I'm one of those people. So it's just a little bit of a funnel that occurs. And for this election, I currently just have one opponent, someone else who I believe believes that they too can make a positive impact to this community. And I welcome that. I'm very friendly with my opponent. And in fact, he was kind enough to show up to my campaign kickoff and actually contribute to my campaign.
Okay.
So he brought a check, and I thought that was really nice. So with that being said, I don't want an election to break any of us apart from being involved in a great community. So I welcome people. I want it to be friendly. And who knows, if I do win this election, I wouldn't want my opponent to not be involved in this community. I want him to feel welcome, that he could still be involved, and that maybe it reveals to him that he too can be a positive impact in this community without being on city council.
So one of the things that what you were just saying just now just made me start thinking about, you've got a point there that as time goes on, there might be less people less inclined to want to actually run for city council. Now, nothing to do with the campaign or anything. How do you feel, do you feel that maybe we shouldn't, or all cities shouldn't have been forced into doing districting, because now that means that there could be less people out there who want to join? I mean, it could narrow it down. In a couple of years' time, there might be nobody running for district, and you've got to come off,
That's a possibility. And there's some things I can, and there's some things I cannot control, even if I am on council.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand that.
Having district elections at this point is a necessity, and that is at large as far as the state goes.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily something that Buena Park decides to do or not do. There's plenty of lawsuits that came from that decision. But Buena Park currently has districts. And with any tradition, with anything that you want to give continuity to, you got to pay attention to. Now, a lot of folks are involved in all these great nonprofit organizations to a certain extent, but every single one of those organizations will end if you don't pay attention to it actively, and you don't recruit new members, and you don't train people to take over once you're done. So if all of a sudden there was district elections or no district elections or redistricting, anything of the sort, my goal on city council, whether I am on city council or not, my goal is to get people involved and engaged. Because it's not enough to just complain about something that you have a concern about in the community. It's about getting involved, rolling up your sleeves literally and figuratively, and trying to solve the problem while working with everyone else that's involved, right? I mean, we kind of have we have these four-way tests in Rotary, right? Is it the truth? Is it beneficial to all concerned?
All people are right, yeah.
Will it build goodwill and better friendship, right? So these are the things that are important. So whether I'm on council or not, my goal has always been to get others involved. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be on council. It just means that others have to be inspired to be involved. And one of my goals, if I am elected on council, is to find my replacement.
So as you were mentioning earlier, how you're even friendly with your current person who's running aside against you, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah.
Collaboration's a big thing, especially when you've got other council members and everybody's got their own little ideas. You want to share a little bit about how you would ensure that you're able to still progress, even though not necessarily agreeing with what somebody else's thoughts or ideas were for the city?
While being on council?
Yeah, what's being on council, of course. Because when you're off, it doesn't matter. You can stand at electing and shout as much as you want. But when you're on council, you can't.
True. You know, I feel like I'm a very even-tempered type of a person. And I try to see a problem through many angles and many ways before I jump to a conclusion. And I like the input of people that I believe are smarter than me as well, or experts in those areas. There's no reason for us to get into fights. And I mean, through the lens of every single one of my colleagues or every other member involved with this issue cares. If I believe that they care, then I'm going to do my best to mitigate any conflicts and try to come down to an actual pragmatic solution. Coming down to the friendliness of my opponent, yeah, absolutely. Even if we disagree on things, or even if I disagree with things on council, let's figure out how we can move forward. I think there's a lot of stuff in the past that maybe hurt our feelings. There's a lot of stuff in the past that maybe weren't the best calls to make, and I'm going to make mistakes too, and I see that ahead of time. But let's move forward. This is where we are. Where do we go from here is the big question. So that's kind of how I approached a lot of issues.
I like the way you're thinking there. So one of the things that was passed along not so long ago, and this affects you not only as a candidate, but also because you live here in Buena Park, and that was basically the city has put forward the vote for Measure M, right? And we all know why, right? So Buena Park pays less tax than most other cities in Orange County as it is. And I'm not wanting to put you on the spot, so don't feel like you have to give an answer. But you did also touch on the fact that, we have to look at ways of sustaining things. You're right. You mentioned that there is an increase in crime everywhere, though. It's not just in this city. And therefore, it does cost money to get more police, to do this, to do that, the other. What are your takes on it? And I know we're not here to change anybody's mind, but what is your mindset, whether it's to do with running as a campaign or even just somebody who lives here?
You know, nobody likes to raise taxes. I don't want to pay more taxes. In Spanish, taxes are called impuestos.
Well, that doesn't sound fun.
Impuestos is translated to imposed because that's what it is. It's an imposition on one that we don't necessarily want to take, but it's something we have to do, right?
Well, I'm sorry, it was my kinsman who brought that over for you years ago. You thought you got rid of it, but you're not.
You know, the funny thing about that is that's a decision that the voters are going to have to make.
Yeah.
And all I know is that if there was a 1% increase on our taxes in the city of Buena Park, that it will conservatively bring about $20 million to the city.
Yeah, which is a lot, isn't it?
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Will some of that go to our police department to help patrol and show the presence? Absolutely. Now, our police department currently is showing up to calls within 4 minutes. That's good. Can we lower that? And will an increase in tax measure be that possibility? Perhaps. What else can that do? I mean, if we take 20 million a year, and let's just say half of that goes to our public services, where's the other half going to go?
Well,
And
they were
that's something
talking about water, going towards the water, because obviously we have our own lovely supply here. But, things like that, I think that was part of the
That's
idea,
important
wasn't
things.
it?
And you know what? I'm proud to say that people tell us that our water tastes great.
Yeah, it does.
And it doesn't have any funky colors.
No, it doesn't.
So
No.
I
You turn
don't
on
call
that
me
tap
brave.
and it's as clear as water could be. Yeah, it's good.
No, and I'm not brave, but I will definitely drink out of any drinking fountain at any public park here in the city of Buena Park, and we feel great about that.
Yeah.
Regardless, the tax measure is something that the voters are going to have to make a decision on, and including myself, who's going to have to vote on that. But I'm just one vote, and I can't speak for anybody else. That's something that every single voter has the power to do. As a city council member, we are elected to make decisions on behalf of others. But when it comes to the measure, that is the power of the actual voter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'd like to leave it.
I really like the fact that the council did vote to just do just that. I think it was nice to give it to the residents to make that decision, and then, for them to help themselves being informed. So I think either way, I think it's a good idea that they allowed, or not allowed, but they gave it to the voters to actually put out there rather than making those decisions. I like that. I like that too. So we're getting to sort of a close of this, because it's a slightly different episode than normal, because it's, just the folks who are on campaign. And I think it's only fair, as we do with every single other guest, to allow our guests for an open mic time. So it might be something we didn't mention, might be something that you would like to just share. And it could also be about your campaign, because, I'm not hiding the fact that we're going to be anyone who is running is allowed to reach out to the chamber, and we will definitely interview. But we're not going to chase you. So it's your time to shine. But in this case, you are here. You have given up your time. What would you like to share to the listeners?
I want to let every listener know that Buena Park is a unique city. We retain the reputation of being a close-knit community. And being on council, I'd like to sustain that. This is more of an invitation for people to open up businesses here. This is a very business-friendly city. I want people to start their organizations here. They're nonprofit organizations, headquarter them here, just like the North Orange County Chamber of Commerce is headquartered here. And you have a beautiful facility, Andrew.
Yeah, we do.
We're very fortunate to be Buena Park. The residents here are very nice to me, and they have been my entire life. You get a couple of angry people every now and again, but it's more about what's going on in their own personal lives than there is with me, right? And we have to acknowledge that. So let this open mic portion be an invitation to anybody to come join us, to do the things that we like to do here in Buena Park, and to leave their own little grain of sand as well, because we may not be a beach city, but we do have Beach Boulevard, and a lot of beach-related activities are coming to our town soon as well.
That's very true. Now, if somebody wants to find out more about you, or find out where your next campaign is, whatever, is there a website you can share with us right now?
Absolutely. I encourage everyone to visit votecarlosfranco.com to find out all about what it is that I'm campaigning about. I encourage everyone to send me a message on social media. Now, I don't check everything all the time. I mean, it feels like work to me since I am an advertiser, but I will be very attentive to all campaign media channels. Please visit Vote Carlos Franco Buena Park if you're able to make a contribution. We're very grateful for that. And your contributions go to something great. And just know that it's not just a campaign. That, I tend to know how advertising budgets are spent a little bit more closely. And I'm very careful on how these things are, how this money's being spent. So a lot of those donations end up being civic donations to our local nonprofits as well.
Well, thank you very much for coming on today, Carlos. For those of you who would like to know more, please visit chambertalk@podbean.com. And if you want to learn more about Carlos, visit his website, or of course, look down on episode 7 and you'll find out all about his history, about what he used to do here in the city. And there is a joke in there, and maybe you can share it with us later. Thank you very much. And Carlos, thank you for spilling the tea today.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that.